Mark? Ready? I now call to order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to our meeting tonight. Roll call, please.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Here.
Vice Mayor Tarapini?
Here.
Commissioner Banther?
Here.
Commissioner Sieber?
Here.
Commissioner Slattery?
Here.
Thank you. Tonight's invocation will be given by Reverend Jack Long from the Bayonet Regional Hospital. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty God and our Heavenly Father, we come to you humbly tonight asking you to bless our nation, our community, and our families, fully knowing that we don't deserve your favor, but we trust in your grace and mercy. You know our land is troubled and confused, so tonight we ask for wisdom, for strength, for respect, and for love, for one another and for everyone. May we right the wrongs, help the needy, and care about one another. For this group gathered here tonight, we are thankful for their love of community, their desire to serve. May your hand of goodness be upon them and their families. We ask for your protection for those who protect us at home and abroad, for our police force and their leaders, for the firemen and all the civil servants, for our servicemen as they're placed throughout the world. Thank you for freedom, thank you for justice, and for your many benefits, and for this opportunity to know you and to share together to help others. We pray in your holy name. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now go to the public comments on the items will now be discussed this evening. If you have any comments, please come forward, state your name and your address for the record. You'll be given 4 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm Dr. Ginger Phillips, president of the Friends of Anclote Key State Park and Lighthouse, here with the knowledge and support of our board of directors. I'm a resident of the city. Our bylaws state that our mission is acting as a nonprofit citizen support organization as defined and regulated by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Our mission is to generate and employ additional resources and support for the best interest of Anclote Key State Park and Lighthouse. This will be accomplished through, among other events and activities, social work projects, special programs, events, outreach programs, education and scientific research, activities and communications, interpretive programs, fundraising activities and events, guided tours, as well as those events designed to meet the additional park needs. The State Park and Lighthouse benefits Tarpon Springs. Merchants sell memorabilia, tour boats ferry people out to the island, and those people shop and eat locally. The lighthouse is important to this city. Christopher Still featured it on the mural which hangs in the library. The girl with the baskets, my Aunt Naomi Beckwith. My great-grandfather was an assistant keeper on the island. In keeping with our mission, we worked on an event that would be fun, interesting, could raise donations, and bring interest to the city as well. We worked with the library administration and Friends of the Library. Christopher Still has volunteered his time. Thursdays work because the library closes early and we can actually see the mural. Our group would do all the work, register attendees, market the event, pay for liability insurance, so forth. I run professional societies and run their conferences for a living. From a major client, we just held the 50th anniversary of our ranked journal in the Library of Congress, Madison Hall in DC. This event that we had planned met everyone's agreement until it reached, to my understanding, the city manager and attorney. The rules of the library state the meeting rooms are for non-commercial use only. No outside group may charge admission directly or indirectly to any meeting held in these facilities, nor may it select or solicit or collect a voluntary contribution, nor may it present for sale any item. Sales of goods and services are allowed. Government agencies are exempt from these rules. But I'm a bit confused. The library holds book sales all the time in the big community room. The room is advertised as being used soon by the Tarpon Springs Historical Society on October 1 for a showing of the 12-mile reef. And when I checked the library calendar, it's not a library-sponsored event. The consistent message I have received is if we let one group in to use the large community room, we have to let any group in. This is a confusing message to hear. And is it applied to all groups? One wonders why there would be such a restrictive rule around a city-owned facility. Apparently, some time ago, a group behaved badly when using this room, but punishing community groups forever for one group's misdeeds is difficult. The Friends of Anclote Key State Park and Lighthouse respectfully request a reconsideration of our request for the event in October, one in which we would have a donation fee. We also request a full and fair overhaul of the library rules so that it is of even more benefit to the city of Tarpon Springs than it is. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Todd Eckhouse, 103 South Spring Boulevard. I just wanted to talk about a little bit about hibiscus. It's just looking fantastic. That little, the little bit of Hibiscus Street that's been upgraded, and it just looks great. And I don't know, I'm not up to date on what the city might be offering and incentives for people to do that kind of thing, but whatever you all can do to keep it going, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, if all of Tarpon Avenue downtown looked like that, it would be really newsworthy, I think. And it's encouraging too to see the beer place and the barbecue place renovating those two buildings too. So I think things are really looking up.
Thank you.
Evening, Peter Deluxe, 514 Ashland Avenue. Just wanted to follow up a little bit from the last meeting about the parking down at the sponge docks. I didn't get a chance to really fully grasp what Ms. Samarkis was recommending with the one-way street till after the meeting, and looked at some of the evidence or things she presented to y'all, and to be honest, that looks like a win-win situation. You could put the one-way stop sign or the one-way sign right there somewhere between Cedar and Mill Street, so the people who live on that portion of Athens can still, turn southeast. So I think that should be an option that really should be looked at to be implemented when y'all begin this renovation project, because why not do it at the same time, and y'all have the ability to bring it forward and move it. Also, in regards to what Mr. Salaveras had mentioned about some of the property behind his buildings where it's now Foodnos Bakery, and I really think there should be some outreach to see if there can't be some kind of a parcel cut off back there and an easement where there is, right just south of Foodnos, there's that access way. You can maybe even cut it from Mill Street, I'm not sure. But that would be a way to assist in some of the parking issues. And while we're kind of talking about parking and cars, we need to really, at some point, have a traffic reassessment. There's more cars now using Safford because of the light now at Mears. And if you come north on Safford, you have to stop at Lincoln, Morgan, and then MLK. Yet, you can go from MLK all the way up to Lemon Street and no stop signs. Now, originally, I can see why Morgan needed a stop sign for a three-way, but it's not necessary now. You can keep the one at Lincoln because of the school traffic, yet remove the one at Morgan and you don't impede your traffic. You still have MLK and Safford, which is one of the best four-way stops that we have, but that should be looked at. And the reason why I think that's an aspect is because hopefully we're going to get Mango Street back open, and I'm not sure what the project process, where we are in the project for Mears Town Center, but we need to really get on it with trying to complete that Mears Mango extension, and with that, opening up Diston south to Klosterman, where it connects with Belcher. So there's a lot of traffic issues, and I'm sure other people in other areas of town probably have certain situations they run across in their normal course of driving. And so I would ask that maybe you'll schedule a work session, get in coordination with the police department, whatever information they have as far as traffic totals or stuff, and maybe work on trying to create a little bit more easier mobility. But I really think the important thing is to really work on getting that Mears Mango Diston area open, because once you can open that, you're going to really increase your traffic flow. Whenever there's an accident on 19 somewhere around Alderman or anything, that road backs up all the way. They come up to Curlew, and trying to turn left or right at alternate 19 when there's been an accident on 19, it's really hard. So I just think as a general aspect, maybe we need to start looking at the traffic aspects. And I know I've run out of time, but in speaking with some of the dock people last week, or at the last meeting afterwards, one thing they would like to see, I don't know how much we do it now, but we used to have bike patrols and more policemen on bikes or walking or down there, and they say it doesn't appear to be as much as it was at some point. So I would like to see if that couldn't be wrapped into this whole traffic issue with the docks also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Here none. Thank you. We are now go to consent agenda. Number 1 is satisfaction and release of liens. Number 2 is attorney fees. Number 3, special event. A, Labor Day or Arts and Crafts Show, September 3rd to the 5th, 2016. Number 4 is renew file number 120121-N-TK, purchase of food and resale miscellaneous items. And number 5 is increase file number 160054-C-CM, maintenance, repair, and operations, supplies related service through the Cooperative Purchasing Network. Contract number is R142104. Do you have any items that you'd like to pull? Anyone?
I just didn't know when it was the right time to comment. But Paul, could you ask Mark to work again with his fan club group, just to re-examine and make sure? And I will follow up with him on Monday.
Will do.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr.
Mayor.
That's fine. That's fine. Yes.
One more thing on the for Mr. Smith to follow up with Mark is Mr. Lackus mentioned something about a stop sign on either Morgan or Lincoln, and it's been mentioned to me several other times, and it is excessive. I mean, I don't know why it's there. Maybe there's a reason, but if you could look into that or mention that to him as well. Sure.
Okay. Are there any public comments on these items? Here none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Are there any commission comments? None. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. We are now going to special consent agenda, which is item number 6. Award RFP number 160102-P, this JJ Solid Waste and Recyclable Materials collection services. Mr. Smith, would you do the presentation on that item?
Yes, Mayor. I've got Tom Funchen, Public Works Director up here, and he's going to give you a brief summary of this item.
Sure. The purpose of this contract is to provide solid waste and recyclable material collection services for the residents, for city-owned facilities, sponsored events, and provide waste collection services for commercial customers within the city limits and our service area, which includes the service area of water and sewer. Out of the 38 plan holders, we received 5 responses. Our committee, which consists of Ron Herring, Susan Van Horn, and myself, ranked the proposals based on 15 points for experience, 15 points for customer service, 15 points for recycling services, and finally 55 points for the price. After evaluating all the proposals, Waste Management ended up the #1 spot, and that's who we are recommending for these services.
Thank you. Couple questions.
Shoot.
We are going to keep the same schedules and routes with this contract, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Same schedule we have now.
I know the first year the prices will remain the same. What happens after that? Can you explain to us?
Yeah, there's actually built in based on the consumer price index, and that's in here. It has, other than fuel and oil, there's and I don't know the exact details of consumer price index. I am not an accountant, but it's usually, we've had over the last few years anywhere between 1.1 and 1.9% increase every year based on that index. If you need more than that, I can get you more on it. Ron Herring can probably answer that question probably a little bit better than me, but there will be probably on average between 1 to 2% increase in prices.
Thank you. Is anybody else going to answer the question better or no? Okay. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay. Are there any public comments on this item?
Peter Lackas, 514 Ashland Avenue. Waste Management has done a fine job. Money seems about the same. What I want to bring forth is the recycling part. A couple years back, I remember there was talk about providing residents with 64-gallon recycling containers, and I've never seen that yet to occur, or I haven't seen that yet to occur. But I think what's important, and I don't know what the revenue amounts are that we get in return for our recycling, but we really need to make a concerted effort to more fully inform our residents and give them the opportunity to recycle. It's quite often I'll drive in the evening before garbage day and I'll see trash cans with boxes in them, or you can tell when somebody's had a party, there's all kinds of soda stuff, and all that's recyclable, yet it's been stuck in the trash. And I know pretty much our residents, do a fair amount. But I really think we need to take a look at providing some kind of commercial recycling. All these restaurants, they're going to be serving craft beers in bottles and the Millers and the Buds. I mean, you go to any restaurant or bar, what are they doing? In the trash, in the trash. Same thing with cardboard and plastic. We don't really have, at least to my knowledge, a concerted effort of creating a commercial recycling process. And I don't know if, George, right? That maybe there's other cities that do have that we could get some information on and see what would be necessary to be implemented, if that would affect our costs. But I think if we got commercial establishments on board, we would gain back more revenue. And I know at one time Tom had mentioned that state requirements require us by a certain time frame to have a certain amount of the waste stream taken out of the trash. So to me, that's the biggest opportunity we have to contribute to not only reducing our waste to the landfill, but possibly augmenting any money that will be in that 1.2 or 1.9 or 2.3% increase. If we increase our recycling by 5%, I'm sure those additional revenues and how it's counted, I'm not sure exactly now, but it's something I think that should be looked into. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more public comments? Are there any commission comments?
I just want to respond to Peter DeLucas's comments. I thought we did offer commercial recycling. It's available to.
If they can purchase that separately.
That's what I thought. It is available. It's up to them if they want to purchase it or not. Because I did inquire during this process, because there are establishments. You're talking about beer bottles and wine bottles and liquor bottles, but that's up to them to do that. And I guess it costs the establishment more money to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's something, we could look into. But, I'm also told a lot of things that I thought were recyclable aren't. If they're soiled at all, you can't put it in the recycle bin. I was shocked to hear that. So if you want to then take water and rinse everything out, then you're using water. So it's catch-22 at that point. But there's so many other things. There's so many things that I thought were recyclable that really aren't if they're soiled whatsoever, like a pizza box. You can't put it in there. So, am I correct on that? Okay, I thought so. So, that's an issue. But when it comes to the businesses, they do have that option. But again, then do they have to empty out or rinse out all the beer bottles and wine bottles and whatnot to get the?
They're required to, yes.
Yeah. So it's a whole. And to get them to come on board with that, I don't know. But it is available. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
I just want to agree, it is up to the responsibility of the business owner. I recycle my wine bottles and bottles and stuff at my business, so, but you do have to rinse them out.
Thank you. Tom, a while ago I have requested if we can have a video for the residents so they can understand what items to use for this recycling.
Actually, we've created one that will hopefully go out hopefully next month or so and get that.
Okay, so we have that in the works. Good.
Yes.
Great. The chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery? Yes. Commissioner Sieber?
Yes.
Commissioner Panther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. Thank you. And congratulations. We are now moving to item number 7, authorize execution of the Second Amendment to interlocal agreement regarding joint membership to the PSTA Board of Directors. Mr. Smith?
Thank you. This item is a second amendment to the original agreement from 1994. This longstanding agreement allows cities of Tarpon Springs, Oldsmar, and Safety Harbor to combine their resources and represent our mutual interest in the PSTA Board of Directors. This recommended change involves increasing individual rotating terms from 2 years to 3 years for each joint member.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? The chair will entertain a motion.
I have a comment.
Second.
Thank you.
He's got a comment.
Can I say something real
Oh,
quick?
sorry.
Thank you. Yes, well, I am in support of this, but I continue to voice that the PSTA, if I'm not mistaken, our residents pay the same millage rate as those that do in St. Pete and Down County. And we continue to get lackluster service and nothing past or nothing west of Ultra 19, at least to my knowledge. So I'm encouraged that when we do get our turn on this board, which I wish we had a permanent seat, but I realize because of our size we don't, that we can use those 3 years to really try to make an impact to get service more to the areas here that need it, and our residents get more return on their investment from their tax dollars, because right now it's currently lacking. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Panther. I served on a PSTA in the past, and 2 years is not enough time to do things that you want to do. I think 3 years is going to be better. next year, it's going to be our turn to have a representative there to serve for 3 years. I think it's going to be better to get things done, just what you suggested, because I'm totally believe that. I think we need to get more from the PSDA. We've been paying for many years without getting anything that we should be getting. Mrs. Slaughter, you have something? No? We do have a motion already, right? Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. We're now moving to item number 8, which is the ordinance 2016-09 LDC amendment, article number 13, section 226.00, Board of Adjustment, number of alternates, first reading.
Ordinance 2016-09, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Appendix A, Comprehensive Zoning and Land Development Code, Article 13, Section 226 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, to amend the number of alternate members of the Board of Adjustment for consistency with City Charter, and providing for an effective date. That's first reading of Ordinance 2016-09 by title only. Second reading will be held on August 16, 2016. The ordinance was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on July 1, 2016, and will be published again on August 5, 2016.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Commissioners. Heather Erler, your Planning and Zoning Director, and staff to this application and the next application. With this, we had a member of our BOA come before the commission and ask for additional alternates. There was a time when they had some issues actually having a quorum at that board. Your charter provided for that second alternate position. However, our code had never been amended to recognize that second alternate. So when you went and appointed your board members, you only appointed a single alternate. So this is basically a cleanup amendment to make that change so that we're consistent between the code and the charter. The planning board did hear this application at their July 18th meeting, and they wholeheartedly agree that additional members are helpful when a quorum can't be held. So they recommended approval to this board. Staff is recommending approval, and I can answer any questions that you might have. It's a fairly simple application, though.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Are there any commission comments? I'd like to say that I was present. I was serving on the Board of Adjustment at the time that we didn't have quorum because there was not enough people there. But also I'd like to recommend that we take a look at the other advisory boards to make sure they are consistent with the charter as well. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. We're now going to item number 9, which is the ordinance 2016-10 LDC amendment, article number 2, sections 2504 and 2517, amendment to allow new uses through the conditional use process. This is the first reading.
Ordinance 2016-10, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Appendix A, Comprehensive Zoning and Land Development Code, Article 2, Section 25.04, Conditional Residential Mixed District, CRM, and 25.17, Industrial Restricted District, IR, of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, to amend uses allowed by conditional use and providing for an effective date. It's the first reading of Ordinance 2016-10 by title only. Second reading will be held on August 16, 2016. The ordinance was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on July 1, 2016, and will be published again on August 5, 2016.
Again, Heather Erler, staff for this application, your Planning and Zoning Director. This application was basically born out of concern for a couple of different uses on specific pieces of property where these uses aren't allowed currently in the zoning designation. The first one was for community garden use in the CRM district. This is a district that allows for conditional uses as they relate to residentially associated property. So most of the property that is in your CRM district are residentially committed properties. but they're conditionally approved. And what that means is if they're not a single-family detached dwelling, they generally come through the conditional use process to allow for different types of housing. Attached housing is an example. We recently did one of these components when we did the eco-village, actually the parcel adjacent on Cypress. It needed a conditional use to come through, that it went as one package, but that conditional use was required because of that zoning district. In this case, we do have one piece of property here on Ring Avenue that we have been talking about possibly considering a community garden. Right now, within that CRM use, you do not allow for community gardens. It's really interesting that you don't allow for community gardens here. However, your more restrictive land use, which is R100, does allow for community gardens in the residential district. So that being the case, staff is recommending that if you choose to approve this amendment or this portion of the amendment, that you would now be, through the conditional use process, able to ask for a community garden. That allows this board, as the governing body for the approval of conditional uses, to decide whether that use is a compatible use on a particular piece of property in that zoning district. This is only going to amend that particular zoning district. So in the future, if we choose to have community gardens in other districts where they're not allowed, the same type of process would have to happen, or they would be restricted, right, as they are now, really to our commercial districts, which it's really not a good use of commercial property to use it for a community garden, or the R100 district. That's where the uses are currently allowed. As a result, this particular thing would amend that and allow for this particular district for us to go through that conditional use process. And if you choose, you can direct staff and we can look at that larger issue if you want to talk about other districts. But right now, it's very limited. This particular use is a defined use in your code, but it's not allowed in a lot of the different districts. And there's reasons for that. Obviously, you don't want this particular use competing with a commercial use in a commercial district. However, currently that's a place that they're allowed by right without coming through a conditional use. So in this case, we're asking for the board to recognize that this is a use that we may want to use within a particular piece of property within this district, and let the conditional use process be established within this district for this particular use. Moving on to 24-17, which is your industrial limited restrictive district. We had two particular uses here that have been somewhat removed from the district. One was commercial recreational facilities use. You often get particular types of recreational type uses, types of gyms and that type of thing, that want to go into a industrial type environment. Your industrial restrictive district is a very restricted industrial district. It only allows certain types of specific industrial purposes. It's not an open, heavy industrial district. As a result, it is not a compatibility issue necessarily to have these types of large warehouse type uses that are being used benignly really for a gym of sorts. And allowing those within that industrial restrictive use, there's not really a issue with a compatibility. However, we're asking for that use to be allowed within the ISR by conditional use, so that this board then can determine if it's compatible with the other IR uses that are in the district immediately surrounding whatever proposed project comes forward. The last one that we're asking for in this district that isn't currently allowed is schools of general education. And the reasoning for this is we have a particular school that is really considering a particular IR piece of property. Right now, they would not be able to go into that property. We recently, not too long ago, did another conditional use in a district that allows for it for a school of special education through this conditional use process. It seems to be working in that particular case, so don't have a lot of concerns, because again, you're reevaluating whether that use is consistent with that particular piece of property in that particular district. You basically have that final say to say it obviously is not compatible based on all of the externalities that are going to surround that use. But there are pieces of property in industrial restrictive where the uses around it might be a church, might be printing materials or something like that, are consistent with allowing for a school. This particular piece of property that the one person that have approached us is in that type of situation where the industrial uses that are around it are not of a situation where they would affect the school itself. However, the school is really not going to impact other industrial uses that might grow up in that area either, because they're very restrictive. It's the processing that you can do in a restrictive, industrial restrictive district is very limited. You did that for a reason. You wanted to provide for that area that between your general commercial districts where commerce occurs and basic processing that happens with a very, very light manufacturing and assembly process versus a heavy industrial area. You know, you've really segmented out those types of uses and to protect your districts. And as a result, the staff has no real concerns with requesting those conditional uses, because I know that this body and future bodies will have that ability to answer that question: is the use compatible on this particular property in the circumstances that are being proposed? So that's really what the crust of this particular application is. It's a little convoluted, but that's really where we're at. Planning board again did look at this action on the July 18th meeting. They had very little concerns. They were actually very excited about the whole community garden concept. They got into talking about urban agriculture and went off on a tangent. But as a result, they were very excited about that opportunity coming into the community, and they actually would like to see this expanded beyond this particular district. And I said, well, let's see where we'll go with this and see how it works, because really you need to have a test example of a community garden in your community before you can pilot it elsewhere. You need to have that pilot project. So if this particular piece of property that the board has been kind of talking about and milling over works out, maybe then you look at expanding it to other districts within the conditional use process. But right now we explained to them that this is the first step in that process. And with that, that's all that I have, but I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
Yes. Well, I see that P&Z obviously did approve both of these, and I know there's been a lot of interest for that community garden property. There are about 35 people on an email list right now, in a group that meets once or twice a month. And most community gardens are in neighborhoods where they are accessible to families and to schools. I would approve this.
Thank you. Okay, I just have a comment to make. This is something that we wanted to do for maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and finally it's here. I'm in support to have a community garden. I think increases the sense of community, ownership and stewardship. I think it's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to see that. Are there any public comments? Mr. Dalakis, you're not going to say nothing about this? Come on, you worked on that 6 years ago. Okay, thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. Well, that concludes the agenda tonight. We go into the staff comments. Major Young. Mr. City Attorney.
Comments?
Mr. Smith. Madam Clerk.
I just wanted to remind everyone, August 10th through October 12th starts our second Citizens Academy. And I'm happy to say, as of today, we have 21 applicants.
Oh, wow.
And we still have 4 positions open. If anyone's interested, they can go online and get an application, or they can contact the clerk's office or email the clerk's office, and we'll be happy to forward one to them.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Terrapin.
No comments, Mayor?
Okay. Vice Mayor Panther.
I'm not vice mayor yet.
I'm sorry.
No comments,
I
thank
jumped
you.
the gun on that.
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry. But, Commissioner Super.
I just have one comment. The 5th Annual Hippie Fest is coming next Saturday to Tarpon Springs. It's from 2 to 10. The hours have been extended, and it only will be on the Sponge Docks this year. So we're all excited to have another Hippie Fest coming.
Thank you, Commissioner Slattery.
No comments.
No comment. I would like to remind to everyone that August 4th, we also have the Sunset Beach concert from 7 to 9 p.m. August 5th, we got the first Friday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in downtown area on Tarpon Avenue. That's a very popular event. August 6th, we got the Night in the Islands from 6 to 11 p.m. at the Sponge Docks. And also like to welcome 3 new businesses to Tarpon Springs: Nico and Company, Gulf Coast MRI, and Boundless Consulting Contracting. Also would like to thank Major Young and Mr. Smith for being with us tonight. That concludes our regular session, and it's adjourned at 7:10 p.m. Good night, everybody. Thank you. How you doing? Great.
Okay.
You worked on that 6 years ago, you know?
Thank you.
Good, how are you?
Did you accomplish your mission today?
Budget? Yes.
Things went well. Well, yeah, I know. But
When I saw you, I was like, oh my God.
Increase our revenue.
give back to the community. That's very nice.
I know.
I want to congratulate
You did what?
these managers,
Did you do one of those?
all the directors for
I know. Who else was it?
Been here
Stephanie.
20 years now.
I also like to thank the